Let's call to order this City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, January 28th, right here in the lobby of City Hall. Welcome, everybody. It's a little warm, but it's great to see everybody. Always nice to have a full house. Looking around, we have all City Council here, so we do have a quorum. And we'll start with the importance of every meeting, and I don't say that lightly at all. We'll start with a prayer. Today will be from Dr. Jonathan Bunden from First Baptist Church of Kings Mountain. Please stand for that prayer and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray together. Father, we come to you this evening with grateful hearts. We thank you for everyone who has given their time to make this city a better place. I see so many of the police officers, the men and women who are on the front lines, our city workers, our city managers. Lord, bless and keep them safe, I pray. Lord, we also come here today with a vision and ideas, but, sometimes we don't understand, and our understanding is limited. And so we can't only depend on our mind for solutions. So we submit to you for guidance. You say in your word, if anyone lacks wisdom, that we should ask God, who gives generously and to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. So we hold on to this promise, and we ask for your guidance in all of our endeavors this evening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please join council and myself for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 4 is a motion to adopt the proposed agenda. Only emergency items shall be added to the agenda. Emergency shall be defined and required by the city manager. Upon approval of the mayor and city council, the item will be added. Consent items will be adopted with a single motion. Second and vote unless a request for removal from the consent agenda is heard from a council member. And with that, looking for a motion to adopt the proposed agenda. Mr. J. Rhodes with the motion and Councilman Butler with the second. And with that, all in favor, show hands. That is everybody. Thank you so much. Now it is time for special presentations and recognitions. It's a resolution recognizing Corporal Harold Wayne Carpenter upon his retirement from law enforcement on January 31st, 2025, after 30 years of service and presentation of his badge and service weapon. Good, all right. I'll back you right here. Is that? There we go. Thank you, guys. All right. This is a resolution in recognition of Corporal Harold Wayne Carpenter and awarding of service, weapon, and badge. Whereas the City of Kings Mountain benefits greatly because of the dedication and hard work of its employees who strive to improve themselves so they can be helpful to others. And whereas Corporal Harold Wayne Carpenter began his career in law enforcement with the Kings Mountain Police Department on July 3rd, 1995. Then in 2007, after several satisfying years, his excitement for the law enforcement profession grew, which led him to explore other opportunities for growth and development in other departments, including Cherville Police Department and Shelby Police Department. Prior to his departure in 2007, he achieved the rank of patrol sergeant, where he received several commendations and letters of recognition for his efforts to keep Kings Mountain a safe and secure community. And whereas, in 2009, Corporal Carpenter reunited with the Kings Mountain Police Department, where he earned the rank of corporal, remaining a dedicated and steadfast employee who has sought to make a difference in the lives of those he interacts with, both personally and professionally. And whereas Corporal Carpenter has served the community for 30 years in full-time service as a law enforcement officer and is set to retire on January 30th, 2025. He is a dedicated public servant, having conducted himself in a professional manner, earning the respect of those with whom he served, and those he has entrusted to serve, contributing to the betterment of his department and the community as a whole. And whereas it is customary to present an officer with 20 years or more of service with their service weapon and badge, now therefore be it resolved that I, Robert C. Wagman, Mayor of the City of Kings Mountain, and the City Council on this 28th day of January 2025, do hereby award Corporal Harold Wayne Carpenter with his service weapon and badge worn and or carried by him, and we thank him for being an outstanding city employee. Congratulations. There's that proclamation. There's your shield, there's your weapon. And I'd be remiss if I didn't have the chief say a couple of words. Here you are, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I always have to write. Is this on? I always have to write down stuff because I forget it. One of the greatest privileges that I have as chief of police is swearing in one of our newest officers. Right next to that, one of the greatest privileges I have is retiring one of our greatest officers. So this evening is a great privilege for me to be here this evening to issue you your retirement badge and your gun, and congratulations on your retirement. 30 years is a long time in this profession, folks. Very long time. We were just talking earlier about 25 years, I believe. We were talking about that, but 30 years is a long time, especially now with all the things we have to deal with. But just this afternoon, I got word from the governor's office that you are also getting an award this evening called the Order of the Lone Leaf Pine. And this Order of the Lone Leaf Pine is just something that's just not given out by the governor's office. It's an award that is a prestigious award that's given out, and only a select few. They just don't hand these things out. So you were selected and awarded this, so you'll be getting this certificate that I'm going to hand you here from the governor's office and Josh Stein. And again, congratulations on that. And again, I can't thank you enough for the years that you've put in, not only with Kings Mountain, but the other departments. And as a testament to his years of service, I found out that he actually helped train other corporals, sergeants, captains, assistant chiefs, some that are actually here in the room. So you've got a long legacy here at Kings Mountain, and appreciate your work here. So again, nice round of applause for Wayne Carpenter.
And for that prestigious award you received, you joined the ranks of people like Andy Griffith. And honestly, he's telling the truth. It is very rare that award is given, so congratulations. That's an incredible honor. And thank you for your service. We'll move on to citizen recognition. Persons wishing to appear before the council during this portion of the meeting should register their name and the subject they wish to address with the city clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. In an effort to maintain order and decorum, we would encourage speakers to be courteous and respectful during this portion of the meeting in which citizen input is heard. Please refrain from profanity, inappropriate gestures, insults, personal attacks, or accusations. Each presentation will be limited to 3 minutes. And with that, Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak tonight?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you so much. Moving on to mayor, council members, and city manager remarks. Anything on your hearts and minds tonight? No, very good. Excellent. Mr. City Manager? Very good. Thank you, guys. Moving on to number 8 is a motion to adopt the following consent agenda items. Adopt the minutes of the work session of Thursday, November 14th, 2024, and the regular meeting of Tuesday, November 26th, 2024. B is authorize the mayor to execute the certification and approval by local governing board to make application for the 2025 North Carolina Parks and Recreation Park F grant. 8C is authorize the mayor to execute the certification and approval by local governing board to make application for the 2025 North Carolina Parks and Recreation Accessible Parks Grant, Round 2. And then 8D is accept a certificate of sufficiency from the city clerk and adopt a resolution setting the date for a public hearing for Thursday, February 25th at 6 p.m. right here at City Hall. Right here at City Hall to consider a voluntary contiguous annexation for property known as Cleveland County Parcel 10968.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to be recused from this vote on the consent agenda, as I have an interest in 8D.
All right, very good. Thank you for that. Council?
Make a motion to excuse him.
All right. The motion to excuse him has been made by Councilman Hawkins and seconded by Shara Miller. Very good. And with that, a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Oh, sorry about that. Let's see the hands of those who would. Very good. Thank you so much. All right. And with that, we'll motion now to adopt the consent agenda. All right. Very good. Mr. West with that motion. And Miss Annie Toms with the second. And let's vote. And that is everybody. And we will head into our public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. So a motion to close the regular meeting and enter into a public hearing to consider the following. We'll start with 10A. We'll consider an amendment to the City of Kings Mountain zoning map, changing Cleveland County Parcel 10884 from suburban residential to auto urban commercial. And with that, I'd like to call up Henry Earl, the city's planning director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Earl, let's make that vote to enter. So we have a motion and a second here from Ms. Toms, and the hands are everybody. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I believe this works. I don't think it has any power. The first case we have tonight is a rezoning on parcel 10884, which is located at 2110 Vestibule Church Road. It's just outside the city limits in the ETJ. Oh, I guess that would have helped if I had turned it on. Thank you. The property is 1.35 acres, and the current zoning district on this parcel is suburban residential. This district is, as it sounds like, it's a residential district mainly established for single-family dwellings and modular homes. The requested zoning district is auto urban commercial, which is our base commercial district. This district permits retail, office, service, and overall commercial uses. Here on this slide, we have the zoning map of the area around the parcel in question. As you can see, to the west and southwest is heavy industrial. And to the east and southeast is auto urban commercial, which is the requested zoning district change. And to the north, of course, is East Dixon Boulevard. On the aerial map, you can see that there are several adjoining land uses in this area. To the immediate east is Atrium Health Shelby Children's Clinic. And to the south is Ingalls, and to the west is Greenheck. So this is obviously a mix of commercial and industrial in this area. When local governments look at rezoning property, the future land use map must be considered. The future land use map is a tool that is supposed to show you how you see areas of your jurisdiction for the next 10 to 15 years. And you don't always have to agree with your future land use plan when making a choice, but it must be considered. And so here, the future land use plan shows this entire area is future auto urban commercial. Therefore, this request does fall in line with your future land use map. Staff supports this rezoning request. Staff sees it as an extension of an already existing zone, and I'll go back to that map so you can see that you have this auto urban commercial directly to the east, and so staff would see this as an extension of that zone that's already existing. And staff finds that it agrees with the land use plan as well. The Planning and Zoning Board heard this case at its January 7th meeting. The board voted unanimously to recommend approval of this rezoning request. The board stated that it was a reasonable request and compatible with the area due to surrounding zoning districts. The board also said the use was consistent with the future land use map's designation of future auto urban for this area. So, Mr. Mayor, when we come out of the public hearing and council begins to deliberate and make decisions, remember that City Council, much like the Planning Board, is required to give a why for its decision. And it's called a statement of reasonableness and or consistency. But I like to make it a little simpler and just say, just why? Why do you think this is a good idea for your decision? And you can consider the compatibility with the area around it. You can consider uses that are around it. You can consider the zoning map. You can consider your land use plan. But you have to give a why that you're making the decision that you're making. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I will turn it back over to you and answer any questions you all have before you open your hearing.
Very good. Thank you. Do I go to the question portion before I get the public to speak into that? Got it. Very good. Excellent. Very good. Council, any questions or comments for Mr. Earl? Very good. Thank you, Henry. And thank you, Mr. Corey. Is there, Madam Clerk, did anyone sign up to speak for? Yes, and how about against? Yes, thank you so much. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for? Anyone here who would like to speak against? Very good. Thank you so much. We will move on to item 10B. Still in the public hearing portion. 10B is to consider an amendment to the City of Kings Mountain zoning map, changing Cleveland County parcel 8153 from suburban residential to semi-urban residential. And with that, we'll bring back Mr. Henry Earl.
Thank you, sir. This is also a rezoning request we have off of Ridge Street. However, there have been some, I guess I would say, issues that have come to light regarding this parcel, and I spoke with the applicant for this case last Friday, and after our discussion, he has asked me to ask council if we can postpone the hearing for this item until your regular meeting on February 25th.
All right, very good. So do we take a vote for that or wait until the end?
Mr. Mayor, I think first off, since the public hearing has been advertised, you should at least see if there's any.
Correct.
Here to make a comment. When you're closing out your public hearing portion, your motion should be to continue this one.
Got it.
Date.
Excellent. Thank you for that insight. Very good. Did anyone sign up to speak for?
Yes, sir.
And then how about against?
Yes, sir. Charlotte Ware.
Very good. Is Charlotte Ware here? Hi, Charlotte. State your name and your address, please.
My name is Charlotte Ware. I live at 200 Cleveland Avenue, which actually is on my driveway's on Ridge Street. And I was kind of wanting to hear exactly what this rezoning would mean, but right now our street is completely single family, and from my understanding, this would make a multifamily home. Not really sure where that's going to happen on that piece of property. It's directly across the street from me. If he was going to build behind it, the driveway would have to be on Hendrick Street, which is too small for any, Hendrick Street's that old dirt road that was right there. So you're really not going to be able to have room for much to happen back there. It's been a single family street my entire life. I've grown up on that street. I just do not think that we need to start building multifamily dwellings. I looked at the proposed, what it would, the future cast, which has my lot is almost like a commercial lot. And I don't see that happening while I'm still living. And then it has everybody else the same zoning, which means we're going to turn that whole street into multifamily dwellings, which I don't foresee that happening. I think people that live there are very happy. I just don't think it would be a good thing for our neighborhood. We are a neighborhood, even though it's not seen as that. It's just a street, but our kids can't even play on the street right now because of traffic coming off Cleveland Avenue to miss the stoplight. We also get a lot of trash thrown on our street. So I just don't think increasing the amount of people coming up and down that street is going to help anybody. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much for your time. And Madam Clerk, has anyone else signed up to speak against? Very good. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. You absolutely can.
Ms. Ware, with this public hearing continuing to the 25th of February, if you've got time that evening, I would suggest you should show up. Thank you.
And thank you for taking the time tonight. Absolutely. 10C in the public hearing portion is to consider the annexation of property identified as Cleveland County parcels 65976, 40830, 10523, 65988, and 10579, owned by the city of Kings Mountain and consisting of 14.342 acres, which is not contiguous to the existing municipal boundaries. And with this, I'll call up our city attorney, Mickey Corey.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, is it okay if I sit here, or do you want me to?
I would prefer because the microphone's better.
Okay.
I would prefer if it's okay to do that.
Sure, absolutely. Mr. Mayor, members of council, some of you were on the council when the project was started, which we commonly refer to as Project South. Project South was that project whereby the city was going to construct a new wastewater treatment facility. These 5 parcels were acquired for that purpose to build that new wastewater treatment facility. And so what happened is those properties were acquired. Those properties are not contiguous to the corporate limits of the city of Kings Mountain, which triggered the need for, is it closer to some other municipality than Kings Mountain? The answer became yes. Resulting from that, based on state law, Grover, it is located closer to. Grover then was required to consent and agree that Kings Mountain could annex these properties. Thus the reason why that agreement was reached with Grover. A public hearing is required when you're doing an annexation. The other couple things I want to mention also would be, one of them is why the annexation? Why is that appropriate to be considered? It is presently in the zoning jurisdiction of the county. By annexing, I think you should also be considering changing the zoning to suit what your purposes might be. That's not something to be considered tonight, but pretty shortly hereafter, you need to start giving some consideration to what do you think, how should that property be zoned? The other thing too I think is relevant to mention is going to be, with every annexation, you venture over into some fire district. This piece of property is about 14 acres and it's in the Bethlehem Volunteer Fire District. What's triggered by statute then is that when you're taking and diminishing properties from a volunteer fire department's district, you got to make some compensation to them for that loss. Statute refers to that as assumption of debt. Don't feel overwhelmed by that. It's really simple. We've done this any numbers of times. In fact, what happens is historically, the clerk, if you decide to annex, makes contact with that fire department. They provide information to her in regards to what their debt might have been on the date you start the annexation process. And there's a formula by state statute that we use to calculate that. And that formula in the past, I think the most I can recall ever was paid to a fire district or fire department. I don't think it's ever exceeded a couple $1,000s. And because the choice becomes, do you want to pay that amount to the fire department annually? Do you want to make a lump sum payment to? The council has always in the past, and you're certainly not bound to that, council in the past has always decided just go ahead and make the one-time lump sum payment. It's so small. But that agreement with the fire department is necessary to be approved by the local government commission before it's a final, this is what you pay. The other alternative is for the city to reach an agreement with the fire department to just annually make a payment to the fire department to continue that fire protection. I don't think I've ever seen that happen, but certainly it could. But this is a process that you must do and always do every time you annex a piece of property. I noticed in the staff report, it indicates what's the financial impact. Financial impact would be number one, in terms of taxes, obviously nothing, because it's city-owned property. Financial impact would be what are you going to pay to the fire department? And I suggest that calculation is probably going to be not very much at all. I'm trying to think of anything else that's necessary. That's all I can think of, I think, for this presentation, but certainly ask me any questions you might have.
Questions?
Let's just say it's $2,000 for the sake of conversation. We pay it then. We don't owe Bethlehem anything else, and they will monitor that. If there's a fire on that, they're going to be patrolling that area, correct?
Well, when you think about financial impact, though, always remember when you're doing annexations, there's always some financial impact to the city, which in this example would be what necessary rolling services, be that police, fire, garbage. This is a vacant tract of real estate, so there certainly is no garbage. Police, I don't know what significant impact that would be. Now, this is located on Jim Patterson Road. Always remember, too, with these volunteer fire departments, it goes both ways. You have these mutual aid agreements. But City of Kings Mountain would be required in the event of a fire to make sure it can provide that fire protection. Yes,
Chair
ma'am.
Miller.
Okay, so the payment, who determines what that payment is?
There's a formula that is mandated by statute we use to make that calculation. As an example, and Karen, help me if I'm wrong here, you receive the numbers from the fire department, and those numbers have always reflected what may be the debt they had on the date the annexation was started for equipment. So you run a calculation based on that. You'll find, and this one we're going to be dealing with is Bethlehem, and so I consistently see they have some debt load for equipment. They have some debt load for deed of trust and mortgage that's outstanding also. You run that formula, and it's interesting how you do it. You actually divide the amount of the acreage you're annexing by the total of their total territory. You would be amazed what a small amount that is, and the formula, again, typically comes to, I've never seen one, probably greater than a couple $1,000. And it's a one-time payment. Yes. Or you could decide to pay them annually. I don't see the point of that. But again, all that has to be approved by the local government commission also.
Mr. Corey, how
Yes.
long has this property been in the hands of the city?
Since 2000, this is 25. somewhere around 2022, thereabouts.
Is it customary or typical that we wait this long to annex, or is that because of the map and rezoning and things of that nature?
The best answer would be is no motivation for, but I would also, and you're aware of this, again, that Project South is that major wastewater sewer project that's presently in process, including the wastewater treatment renovations out on 74. But the best answer is we started out, actually the city acquired 7 parcels. And what happened is those 5 that you're dealing with tonight were voluntarily purchased from the owners. There were 2 that did not agree, and of course we had to start a condemnation proceeding as to those 2. We are abandoning those condemnation proceedings. The reason being is that it's now been decided that maybe that parcel is not the best parcel for the construction of the wastewater facility. And so it's going to be used for a public purpose, but there's no reason necessarily to have delayed, but for we were involved in litigation about 2
Got it.
that we're abandoning the need for, and that just ended maybe 2, 3, 4 months ago.
Very good. Thank you for that clarity. Council, any other questions? Very good. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Ten D is for us to consider an amendment to the City of Kings Mountain zoning map, changing Cleveland County parcels 10523. Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah, very good. Sorry about that. Did anyone sign up for this portion to speak for? And how about against? Thank you for calling that out. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for? And how about against? Very good. Thank you so much. And thank you again. Now moving on to 10D, consider an amendment to the City of Kings Mountain zoning map, changing Cleveland County parcels 10523, 10579, 40830, 65976, and 65988 from Cleveland County Zoning District Residential Manufactured Homes and Parks to Kings Mountain Zoning District Rural. And with that, we'll bring back our planning director, Mr. Henry Errol.
This rezoning case is a little different than most, and of course piggybacks off of the hearing you just had, in which the annexation. And so we are asking, since you've had this hearing to annex property, the next logical step is to rezone that property into the City of Kings Mountain's jurisdiction. And these 5 parcels, of course, are located on Peak Drive, which is just off of Jim Patterson Road in the county. It's a combined 14.3 acres. The current zoning district is residential manufactured homes and parks. This is a county zoning district. It permits site-built homes, modular homes, manufactured homes like single and double-wide homes, and manufactured home parks. The requested zoning district is rural. This district permits the same types of uses, including both manufactured homes and manufactured home parks. Next slide, we have the zoning map for you. And zoning in the immediate area is all of this RM district, or the residential manufactured homes and parks. There's general business to the south, which was zoned that way to be a campground, and then there's heavy industrial to the north as you're getting closer to South Battleground Avenue. And if you look on the aerial map, you can tell this is a rural area, but it's a mix of uses. They're mostly single-family residences out there and larger vacant tracts, as well as some manufactured home parks directly north of these parcels. Normally, when we're looking at a rezoning, we do consult our future land use map, but in this case, there is not one because this is currently in the county's zoning jurisdiction. So the county has a future land use map in this area, but it would not apply to any of our zoning districts. So if this property is rezoned, then it will have a land use designation that complies with the zoning district that you all would put on it. And so staff supports this rezoning request. With the property being annexed, the city has a responsibility to apply a zoning district to it. And the rural zoning district is the one most closely related to the county's residential manufactured homes and parks zoning district. The Planning and Zoning Board, at its January 7th meeting, voted unanimously to recommend approval of the requested zoning district of rural. The board stated that this request was reasonable and that the uses permitted in the rural zoning district were the most closely aligned with what is currently allowed in the residential manufactured homes and parks district. And so, Mr. Mayor, again, when making a decision, this council will be required to give a why as to your decision. And with that, I will turn it back over to you and answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
I'd like to ask a question. Mr. Corey. Yes. You made some comments about it has to go to the league or to the, somewhere else to get everything approved. Can we approve this tonight? Or does it need to be steps between us approving, taking it under our control and doing, changing the zoning?
If your annexation is voted on tonight in a completed act, yes, you can go ahead and rezone.
Okay.
The issue with the local government commission is going to simply be the amount to be paid to the rural fire department.
And that's okay.
Very good. Any other questions?
With the zoning changing to very similar to what the county is, and I believe you said there are a couple of homes or manufactured homes that are on this property? Are people living there?
There were some in this picture, but this picture is at least 2 years old, maybe a little bit older than that. Please.
These parcels are vacant. There may have been some kind of manufactured mobile homes on the property initially. They're no longer occupied, and
Okay.
in fact, I think if I remember, they may have even been removed. So it's vacant property.
So no one
Uninhabited.
would be
Correct.
unhomed.
The other thing too, if we could mention it, because I've heard this over the years, there's some concern, I think, in the community that if the city annexes this property, is it gonna jump out there and annex and take other properties which are abutting and surrounding, and the answer is no. You can't annex off of a non-contiguous piece of property without a request by the property owner themselves.
Thank you. Mr. Phil D.
One more thing. Have you given any thought or consideration as to the long-term use of this? Because it's an asset. And, you know, we're annexing it, we're making it part of the city. It was bought under the premise of the sewer plant. It's now not going to be that. I know the city has undertaken a space and use study as far as city assets and land holdings. What's the plan for this? I mean, just to get it, to have it, to sit on it, I don't know if that's the best idea. I think that we need to be considering and looking at what we're going to do with it, as opposed to just sitting on it.
I would caution you in one regard, which is this. The acquisition was for public use, and remember that came from grant funding. And I'm going to sit here and say this today, and that may change. I can't anticipate a sale or use other than for continued public use by the city. As an example, I can't imagine, based on the grant restrictions, that you'd be able to sell it to a developer, if you will. That's my present answer today. It could change.
But I think outside of that, so a park is public use. Ball fields is public use.
Absolutely.
There's other things that could be done with that parcel as opposed to just sitting on it. I think we need to look at that.
We don't have to decide that tonight because we own it already.
But I just think I want to put that out for consideration and thought for people to be thinking of.
And we certainly are. There's just not currently any direction on it, but we are thinking about it.
Very good. Council, any other questions, comments? No. Mr. Earl, thank you so much. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak for? And how about against? Very good, thank you. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for? Thank you, and how about against? Thank you very much. We'll move on to 10E, consider an amendment to section 156.10, zoning districts and standards of the City of Kings Mountain Unified Development Ordinance, altering setbacks and zoning districts. And it's like sitting up, standing up, sitting down, sitting. Mr. Henry Earl, please come back to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And so this case is a staff-driven text amendment where we were wanting to look at lot sizes, look at setbacks, look at some of our zoning district descriptions. And there's a lot to this text amendment, and after careful consideration, the staff would request that we would also postpone this action on this hearing until a date certain at your February 25th meeting as well. So if that is the will of the board, then you will, of course, open your hearing and hold that, and then you can decide how you want to move forward with that.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. Is there anyone here to speak for as far as? No? Thank you. And did anyone sign up to speak against? Very good. Thank you so much. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for? And how about against? Thank you. And with that, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing as to items 10A, 10C. What's that? Great, and I'll finish that, 10A, 10C, and 10D, and continue the public hearing as to those items which were 10B and also 10E until the council meeting of Tuesday, February 25th at 6 o'clock right here at City Hall and Council Chambers. And we do have a motion from Mr. Tommy Hawkins and a second from Mr. Jimmy West. Yes, you.
See if we could add one thing, that there would be a discussion of item E on our February work session, which is February the 13th.
Well, that's what we had planned, Jay. We got a new city manager here. We are going to postpone it to
Correct.
10E
Correct.
until February the 25th.
Correct. But I wanted to make sure that we would have a discussion of these items
Absolutely.
at the work session.
Absolutely.
Work session and that date?
February
13th. Thank you. Very good.
Correct.
Very good. Just for the record, let me add that too here. A motion to close the public hearing as to items 10A, 10C, and 10D, and continue the public hearing as to items 10B and 10E, and discussion for 10E for our work session on February 13th, right here at City Council,
We come back and vote on it on the 25th.
Council Chambers. Yes, correct. But right now, that's the motion. And I'm going to redo that motion too. That was Tommy. You good with that? And Mr. Jimmy West. So we have a motion and a second. And now let's vote. Very good. That is everybody. Thank you very much. All right. And now we'll get into the regular meeting. 12A is an action on item 11A. A motion to approve an ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Kings Mountain to rezone parcel 10884 from suburban residential to auto urban commercial. This request is reasonable and is consistent with the future land use plan. And with that, council, do I have a motion? Ms. Sharon Miller with the motion to approve, and Mr. Phil D. with the second. And with that, a vote on the floor, hands, and that is unanimous. Thank you. There will be no action taken for 11B tonight. We'll move to 12C as an action on item 11C, which is a motion to approve an ordinance extending the corporate limits of the city of Kings Mountain to include city-owned property known as Cleveland County parcels 65976, 10523, 10579, 40830, 65976, and 65988.
Make that motion. We approve it.
Council, so Mr. J. Rhodes with the motion and Mr. Jimmy West with the second. And let's see hands for a vote. All in favor? That is everybody. That is unanimous. Thank you so much. Thanks for leaving those hands up too, so we get those as well. All right, for 12D. I'd like to make a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the City of Kings Mountain jurisdictional map, eliminating parcels from the Kings Mountain extraterritorial jurisdiction, contingent upon Cleveland County's relinquishment of parcels 11598, Miss, I'll ask Madam Clerk for 1 second.
I'm sorry, I misnumbered that. That is totally my fault. That action is supposed to be for item 12, G.
Well, oh, you are good. Don't worry about that at all. No problem. That is noted, Council. Thank you for keeping us in the proper order. That is appreciated. All right, for 12D, that is an action on item 11D, a motion to approve an ordinance amending the zoning map of the City of Kings Mountain to rezone parcels 65976, 10523, 10579, 40830, 65976, and 65988 from Cleveland County Zoning District Residential Manufactured Homes and Parks to Kings Mountain Zoning District Rural, and apply the rural land use designation to these parcels. And with that, looking for a motion. Ms. Annie Towns with the motion, and a second from Mr. Jay Rhodes, and a vote. And that is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to 12E, it's an action item from 11E from the public hearing, a motion to approve an ordinance amending section 156.10 zoning districts and standards of the City of Kings Mountain Unified Development Ordinance, altering setbacks and zoning districts as presented by staff. This request is reasonable and is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Now, this is what we will move forward for the next meeting. We will move on to, so no vote for that tonight. We will move on to 12F, which is a motion to authorize the mayor to execute the First Amendment to the donation agreement with Albemarle Incorporated. And with that, I'll bring up Mr. Wayne Ledbetter, if he's here. If not, Mr. Todd Carpenter. Yes, sir.
If you don't mind, I would like to address council and yourself first tonight, and then
Sure.
Wayne can answer any questions that you may have about the RNG plant or the lease or the land or lot or anything like that. So
Absolutely.
this particular item, if you recall from the last work session, I asked to have it continued till tonight so that we could clean up wording related to the First Amendment of the donation agreement for the land that Albemarle is giving us. So we have been able to successfully do that. We've cleaned up and clarified wording around the development agreement that we have to complete. And we do know at this time, and it is worded in what you have in front of you in the agenda, is that this is the overall total development agreement that we have to work on and fix. We changed the date that we have to completion of that from March of this year to the December of this year. So we need to get that finished by December, and we'll work hard to do that with Albemarle. We also changed the wording related to the fees that the City of Kings Mountain could owe Albemarle should we not finish that development agreement and should they ask for it. And we still have the wording in related to $45,000 per acre, but we took out wording that stated or the higher of the fair market value of the land. So we took out that wording. So now it's just a straight $45,000 per acre. But we'll work hard to get that development agreement done. We also added language to ensure that the conveyance of the property is completed within 5 days of the action taken here tonight with council. So with that said, I feel good about the First Amendment to the agreement and would recommend to council to approve that. If you have any questions about the RNG facility or anything else, the lease, we are going to begin the lease as soon as the leasing of the property, as soon as the conveyance is conducted. So with that, we're here to answer any questions if you may have them.
Very good. Council, any questions? Mr. Phil D.
More for Mr. Corey. We've amended the date to December 31st.
December 1.
Say again?
December 1.
December 1,
Yes.
tied to the development agreement being completed by that time. Could that date be pushed back if that agreement is not completed by that time and if we've made sufficient progress?
I think the interesting language in the amendment is, it says 45, I think it's 45,000 per acre.
Right.
But it also has an indication that would be paid by December 1st if there's no bigger, larger development agreement. Two key words in that amendment you'll note, which says, or on demand. And so in my conversations with the Albemarle attorney, that on demand means it could be extended or may never be required to make the payment. But it could be. I just have been very cautious to keep saying, anticipate making the payment is the best way to approach it. Does that answer your question?
Roughly.
Okay.
Council, any other questions, comments, discussion? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, a motion to authorize the mayor to execute the First Amendment to the donation agreement with Albemarle.
Make the motion.
Ms. Shara Miller with the motion and Mr. Tommy Hawkins with the second. And in favor, a show of hands. And that is all. Thank you so much. For 12G, I'd like to make the motion to adopt an ordinance amending the City of Kings Mountain jurisdictional map, eliminating parcels from the Kings Mountain extraterritorial jurisdiction contingent upon Cleveland County's relinquishment of parcels 11598, 11599, 12880, 57246, 56672, and 65944 at their Tuesday, February 4th, 2025 Board of Commissioners meeting. Mr. Henry Earl, would you like to come up and address?
Yes.
Yes. That is 12G.
Let me get through this. Got about. All right. In June of 2024, House Bill 909 said that the city of Kings Mountain had to relinquish the portion of its extraterritorial jurisdiction between 1 and 2 miles from city limits. And in September of 2024, at the regular agenda meeting, this council voted on a map that relinquished that portion to Cleveland County. Through various discussions, there are more parcels to be relinquished to the county. And tonight I'm going to show you all a map showing the remaining 239 parcels that the county has requested to be removed from the ETJ into the county's jurisdiction. These are mostly tracts inside a neighborhood, but I will bring this up for you. So the map shows a few things. The blue that you see around the outside is the original 2-mile portion of the ETJ, and all of those parcels are now part of the county's jurisdiction. And I've included in this, there's an update with the parcels the commissioners acted on just last week. The pink is the ETJ that will remain the city's ETJ past any motion that we do tonight. And then the orange are the parcels that the county is requesting to be relinquished. And so most of these parcels are involved in the Gold Run neighborhood on the northern end, and then White Plains as well. There's a few scattered other parcels throughout. And so tonight there's a request to take action on the proposed map. If you vote to accept this relinquishment, then it will go to the county for their acceptance. And they will vote to then relinquish, I believe it's 6 parcels back to the city, and the city will begin the rezoning process on those 6 parcels. And then once you all have done your action tonight and the county has done their action to relinquish these back, then it will just be internal work for both jurisdictions to do their rezoning work, and then this should be the end of it. I can certainly put the map back on and answer any questions you all have.
Very good. Council, any questions?
Real quick, you said that after both governing bodies have taken care of their action, then it becomes internal with staff at the others. So is that when property owners are notified officially?
Yes, what will happen at that point is the county and we will we'll start working with our planning board to determine what the zoning district should be for those 6 parcels that we're receiving. And then we will go through the public hearing process to rezone those parcels. And then the county will do the same. And so all of those 239 parcels that are going in, they will do that notification when they do their rezoning.
I have a question.
Mr. Jimmy West?
Mr. Earl.
Sir.
The properties that you're talking about us regaining,
Mhm.
is that the ones that we relinquished or was relinquished by our previous manager?
Several of those parcels were relinquished just due to the fact that they were outside the 1 mile mark. And so it's those that are around the Dixon Ridge project, and all the ones that were gone were due to that. They were all either touching that line or outside of it completely.
All the property down around Dixon Ridge, that's non-contiguous property, is that accurate?
It would not be contiguous to the city limits, no.
Reason I'm asking, if it were, then that would extend our 1 mile even further again. So
Yes, you could do that if it were contiguous, but it's not. You've got a lot of little spot annexations out here, with Catawba Village South and, of course, Dixon Ridge.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Henry. Very good. With that, the motion to adopt this ordinance. Oh,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the City of Kings Mountain jurisdictional map, eliminating parcels from the Kings Mountain extraterritorial jurisdiction contingent upon Cleveland County's relinquishment of parcels 11598, 11599, 12880, 57246, 56672, and 65944 at their Tuesday, February 4th, 2025 Board of Commissioners meeting.
And I'll second that motion.
very good. With the motion, Mr. Phil D., and the second is right here with Councilman Hawkins. Oh, and yes, and we are voting, so go ahead. There you go. That is everybody. Thank you. Moving on to 12H, motion to authorize the mayor to execute the joint engagement letter issued by Smith, Anderson, Blount, Dorset, Mitchell, and Jernigan regarding the City of Kings Mountain purchase option of the power plant, CPP, Carolina Power Partners. And with that, I'd like to call back Mr. Wayne Ledbetter, Energy Services Director.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. So what this is before you tonight is simply just an engagement letter to allow the city to look at this law firm, which is representing us as their expertise in what to do with this purchase option that we have, if anything.
Very good. And Ms. Annie Toms with a question.
Yes.
Now, you said, an engagement
So it's an engagement letter for them to explore the best reasonable market, if any, for our purchase option, which was the 7%, just under 7% ownership. And that's of the power plant.
Councilman West.
What purpose would that serve us to make that purchase?
None.
That's a good answer.
None. Well,
Then why are we spending money on an attorney firm to
So
tell us it's not
what we're
profitable?
hoping is one of the original 5 that's in this contract is to see what we can leverage individually, but more so leverage as 5 together. So as a city, what I would hope we could do is go back to the power plant with our portion of ownership and give it to, and not give, but offer it to them as some type of credit toward our demand charges for power, something to help ease some of the power, the payments that we do have to pay monthly. So it would offset some of the operating costs, so to speak, from what we purchase.
Okay, is that going to benefit our citizens and drive their costs down
That would, absolutely.
substantially? Say yeah.
Try my best.
Okay, thank you.
So who are, you said that there are other municipalities, okay, let's see, they're listed on here, that would go in together if we approve this to hire the attorneys, is that right?
So we're paying the attorney individually. So us 5 representatives are paying the attorney individually.
Okay, so that's Concord, Winterville, Boone, Greenwood, South Carolina, those are the,
Mhm.
okay. And we know that they're going to do it too?
Yes, they are. They're putting that before their council as well, just to be transparent in what we're doing and trying to say, this is what we're moving forward with, letting this law firm explore our options and see what's the best.
And we're paying only our share of
The percentage of ownership.
$100 an hour. We're just paying our percentage.
Correct. And that's based on what we use contractually, based on what we peak at in the summertime. And it's roughly 32.5 megawatts. That equivalates to 6.4%. So on our behalf, it's not a lot, but it's worth every penny if it would save our citizens something.
So the cost that we're paying that's the number.
It would be anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 max. And then that would depend on how we pursue it. So if we try to go and market it privately to a firm or an investor group, obviously that would get into a lot more money because of the marketing. But where we go with it from there, we will hope to have a better plan.
Thank you.
Do we have any idea how long it will take them to find out something?
So when we signed this engagement letter, that's what triggers everything. And I can't remember, Mr. Corey, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but there was a number of days that was in the contract that things have to move on both parties, us 5 as well as the power plant, and they have to work laterally, or it just kind of expires.
I think one thing maybe make you feel a little bit better if there is something, sort of getting a sense of what you're thinking. And the real key thing is paragraph number 10 of the engagement letter, which talks about termination. So that language says, at any time you want to be out and don't want to continue the relationship with that law firm, it's instant and immediate. And what you would owe at that time would be any outstanding billing. So you get a choice not to have to wait 30 days, 60 days or something. It's an immediate out for you.
So what they would do is that they will bill each city individually according to the number of hours that they put into it.
Correct. Correct.
Not to exceed whatever that amount is, 5,000 or 10,000.
Correct. And that's just a ballpark figure, money-wise, so I can give you a little something tonight at the manager's request, but it's all based, that number is based on our percentage, and it's, like I said, the 6.5-ish%. So other members that use more power, they're paying a little bit more for the same service we are.
Will there be at some point during this negotiation that you would come back to us and let us know how it's proceeding?
Absolutely.
We can determine if it's worth going any further.
You know I will.
Yes, sir.
If you look at, and you probably looked at it, paragraph number 9 actually deal with your payments. What happens is a monthly bill, as an example, your percentage would be that portion of potential ownership interest if you exercise the option to purchase. And so if you look at that paragraph 9, just real quickly, Concord's portion is going to be 58.12.
Got it. Yep.
Greenwood is 17.68. Blue River is 11.15. Kings Mountain is 9.05 of a bill. And Winterville is 4% of a bill.
Thank you for that clarity. Mr. J. Rhodes.
2 questions. You can afford this out of your own budget, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. I forecast for professional services that we do, that encompasses system studies and whatnot. So
Does this have anything to do with our negotiation at the end of our agreement sometime in the mid-2030s?
no, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Now, how it plays out in that, if we negotiate or if we decide to move forward, who knows? But our contract ends December the 31st of 2038.
Councilman Phil D.
I would ask the council to consider, kind of like what we just put in the wording wise with the county. I don't really want to see Kings Mountain get hung out to dry and be the only one standing dealing with this law firm. I understand what Mr. Corey said about we could terminate at any minute, but I think if we adopt it, it would be contingent upon the adoption by all the other communities that are listed in this agreement. All of their councils are looking at it too, and that's fine, but we don't know that outcome of those. I think that protects us a little bit from just kind of being the lone wolf, last man standing here. So on any motion, I would ask to consider that.
The city's already got theirs approved?
No, we're the first.
Okay.
I did receive notification in an email chain. Was this morning, correct, or yesterday? Other cities are saying they're taking it to council as well. Luckily we're just the first to do so.
So to follow up on what Mr. D said, say the city of Concord decided not to, and their portion of the bill is 58%. So that 58% would shift to the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a possibility other cities will sign on?
I can't say due to the NDA that was signed prior to me. I have to adhere to that.
Put you in a bad spot.
Any other questions? No, very good. And then, Mr. City Attorney, Mr. Corey, when I'm making this motion, will I just add the contingency, or do we have to vote for that contingency?
I think it should be a part of the vote itself. If I understand Mr. D's suggestion, it is a motion to enter into the engagement letter subject to all the other entities or parties also agreeing to enter into.
Got it. So, so I can add that in right with it. Very good.
So the record will be clear.
Very good. Excellent. So I'll read that as I have it. Motion to authorize the mayor to execute the joint engagement letter issued by Smith, Anderson, Blount, Dorset, Mitchell, and Jernigan regarding the Kings Mountain purchase option of the power plant, CPP, Carolina Power Partners, contingent upon, is that word fine? Contingent upon the adoption from the other participating cities. And with that, entities, thank you so much for the clarification. And with that, looking for a motion on the floor. Mr. Phil D with the motion and Councilman Hawkins with the second. With that, a vote on the floor. And that is all hands, unanimous. Thank you. I is a discussion and possible action regarding the appointment of a council member to the Kings Mountain Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. And with that, I'd like to bring up our city clerk, Karen.
This is just the final appointment to the Recreation Advisory Board. All the other seats have been appointed. Christina would like to have her first meeting in February, so we would need to appoint a council member to that seat, to the seat that's designed for the council member.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Rhodes?
I would like to make a motion to recommend Shara to be our representative on the Parks and Recreation.
Very good. And do I have a second for that?
I'd like to make a substitute motion.
So we have a second here, and then
Substitute motion.
because I have a first and a second, do I have to follow that through or go through the substitute?
Substitute goes first.
All right, very good. Thank you for the clarity. All right, and then what is your substitute?
I nominate Jay Rhodes because he has a lot of experience in recreation, and I think he would be a great candidate for this position because of his experience.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. And with that, do we have a second for Mr. Rhodes? All right.
I'll second it if we can have, is there any point here of any discussion? Like if someone really wants to do it?
I think
If someone is motivated to do it
I think it's a great point.
or doesn't want to do it?
Sure.
You know?
Mr. Rhodes, so you nominated somebody else other than yourself.
Right. So I'm not going to vote for myself.
obviously, but do you want to separate those two by your why? By the reason why you had nominated Shara?
Shara expressed an interest in being on this. I have not. Not that I'm against anything with the Parks and Rec, but I have been asked by the Mayor Pro Tem to be active in another issue that's in front of the city, and I just want to share the wealth.
Very good. Well, thank you for that clarity. Let's take a vote because it is on the floor with Mr. Phil D. Any other discussion on the matter at present? Very good. So this vote is for Jay Rhodes. And show of hands in favor. All right, that is one vote against the all. All right, and then we'll go back to the original vote of Shara Miller. Let's get I have that motion. Do I have to go back and get that? Very good, Mr. Rhodes.
I'll make that motion.
You made the motion and Annie seconded it. And let's take that vote for Shara Miller. And that is all but one. Thank you. And I'd like to thank everyone for making it easy for me tonight. All right, and our last one is 10J, which is a discussion and possible action to set the date for a special work session to discuss matters relating to the city's advisory boards and commissions. And with that, I'll yield to our council member, Shara Miller.
Yeah, after a year of serving on the nominating committee and trying to recruit new members to our boards and our committees and talking about with the other members on there, sometimes the difficulty in having attendance at certain meetings and also just some questions about what these committees do and the makeup of the committees and that sort of thing. Karen and I have had some discussions, and we talked about it at the last nominating committee meeting, that it would be nice to just have some time for all of us to sit down and discuss the necessity of the boards and the committees, what they do, who needs to serve on them. Some of them are mandated more by general statutes from the state. Some of them have come about over the years because the city needed them. And it just felt like, it seemed like every meeting we had questions about why some are this way and why some are that way. And we just felt like it would be good if the whole council could discuss some of these things. And I know we made an effort this past year to advertise the committees and try to get more people involved. And there may be some other things that we can do. And then in talking to the city manager about the desire to have some time for all of us to sit down and talk about it, I think there are some other things that he said that we might want to build into that, some other policies and so forth. So I'll turn it up. So it went from just thinking about a narrow focus work session for us to maybe possibly more. So that's
Got it.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if you decide to have a special work session, there are other items we could put on your agenda, such as, brief, limited budget some capital project stuff that you probably need to be made aware of. We have some policies to bring forth to you. That would be a good time to do that. So there are some things we could put on that agenda. And we could, if you want us to try to schedule something that would be convenient for everybody, perhaps we choose a day during the week that you don't have a work session or a council meeting. We could go a weekday morning, Saturday morning, something like that, for as long as it takes. So.
Thank you. And would this include, we've had some discussion, and last year we did this, would this include what we called our vision meeting, or would that be separated?
Yes. What I would propose is if we do have it, then let staff work with you all to put an agenda together, just like we do for a council meeting or work session. And if we need to include that, we certainly will.
Very good. Thank you so much. Yes, Mr.
I
West.
know we talked yesterday about maybe a mini retreat instead of the 2 days that we did the last couple of years. Maybe just do a day and have staff there for part of it, then closed session for council to have some discussion. Is that something we could carry over to that, Mr. Manager?
We would have to have a particular reason to go into closed session, and
Yeah.
We'd have to work on that a little bit.
Okay. Well, I think Karen can probably take care of that part. She knows more about that than the rest of us. Or more than I do. I don't say the rest of us, but more than I do.
So as it stands, and I'll read this again, but as it stands, we'll leave that vision meeting out, and then as far as a closed session,
I would have to know, by statute, there are only 6 purposes to go into closed session. So I would have to know exactly what the purpose is before I could determine, I would work with Mr. Corey to determine whether or not we would be able to go into closed session.
excellent. So at this point, with a motion, that's off the table and not a part of what we need to.
Well, I think that it's just to schedule the meetings.
Correct. Yes. So do I even need to make a motion, or can we just set that date?
What you can do, if I'm understanding correctly, is that there's going to be some pass around potential dates, and then someone will call a special meeting for the purpose of whatever that date that works for all of you.
Great, thanks.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I was just getting that clarity. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Annie Toms.
Can we ask if a Saturday works for everyone? And then the clerk could find out which Saturday everyone could be there, or whatever particular day. Let's narrow it down to a day so that when she's asking if we could be there, it won't be just all over the place. So if we're gonna make it a weekday, we need to let her know, or if Saturday would work. So I think we need to make that decision, so she would know how to narrow down the dates.
I would recommend Saturday. And I would also recommend a strict agenda. That you would, each item, we got a certain amount of time, because we can beat something to death, okay? And we don't want to do that. We want to be action oriented and get the job done. That's my opinion.
All right. And then did we want to pick a date, or just leave it as a Saturday and find the one down the road that works?
I'd like to it's not a motion.
Sure.
I would recommend that we give Karen, you just pick out, start looking at Saturdays where it works for the staff too, and give us 2 or 3, and hopefully everybody will be on the same one. Okay?
Great.
Work? Okay. Done.
All right. And then with that, Mr. Corey, do I have to do anything in the motion department? Very good. Thank you for the clarity. And on 13, it is a motion to adjourn. Ms. Cheryl Miller with the motion, and Ms. Annie Toms with the second. And let's vote. That is everybody. Thank you so much and have a good night.